little as had some significant awareness of the early existence of John Parker. It's barely referenced that he was brought into the world in 1970, had no less than one kin, and lived in Indiana, US. He came from a working-class family and was generally an enterprising young fellow with a craving for freedom, personal development, and a yearning to take on the world. Subsequently, it's not shocking that following moving on from secondary school he looked for ways of bringing in cash, and as per his sibling, his most memorable occupation was as a server's partner in an eatery. However, he didn't keep going long there. Oddly enough, John became furious at work and stopped anyway. This didn't deflect his desires, and as soon as possible he got another line of work that not just permitted him more freedom in his undertakings, yet additionally drove him to find his actual calling. Deals. John started filling in as a house-to-house sales rep for Kirby vacuum cleaners. At first his family taunted him, however in a brief time frame John demonstrated to everybody that he had found his bearing in life. As a matter of fact, toward the finish of his most memorable year he was basically the organization's #1 sales rep nearby, and declared he wouldn't make do with only that. Functioning extended periods from 12 to 16 hours per day, he became not just a deals chief whose accomplishments were perceived at organization gatherings, yet in addition an aid for different sales reps who found novel thoughts, motivation, and a good example in him. It was during this time that he met 20-year-old Judy, a little kid who was brought into the world in October 1969 and lived in Texas in a low-income group of 3 youngsters. She was extremely friendly, and despite the fact that John was not hoping to enlist more sales reps at the time, Judy persuaded him that she was the most incredible in the deals field. In spite of her young age, she was not a bashful young lady. As a matter of fact, she was a completely developed lady who, with her folks' assent, had hitched at 14 and was separated with 2 kids, Christina and Daniel Hicks. When she met John, John chose to allow this decided candidate an opportunity and turned into her tutor in vacuum cleaner deals. Judy not just procured a spot in the deals force drove by John, yet additionally won the core of her chief, and in a little while they set out on a close connection. John's life could never have been exceptional. He had a very much procured standing as a superb sales rep and mentor, and furthermore had Judy's help throughout everyday life and work with these establishments. He chose to go into business in Michigan, turning into a deals and administration administrator for Kirby vacuum cleaners. He likewise offered instructional meetings for sales reps, passing on his own mystery and the excitement that had made him a star in the area. His organization was perceived as one of the top nearby, and John generally featured that he had made this progress thanks to Judy's help. In 1992, with his expert life settled, the couple got hitched, and before long they devoted themselves to showing what a decent sales rep could accomplish in life. The couple had 2 girls, Tiffany and Erica. Getting the quantity of youngsters, the family, to 4, they moved homes a few times, generally to better areas, and the kids started to partake in the advantages procured through the difficult work of John and Judy. At first he approved of his wife's kids. Christina was a sweet young lady and Daniel was fairly hyperactive and naughty. The Parkers partook in a decent home, brilliant schools for the youngsters, top-of-the-line vehicles, and successive getaways. John was gathering a critical fortune and didn't have any desire to conceal it. Running against the norm, he involved it as an impetus for the youthful salesmen he prepared, showing them what could be accomplished through difficult work anyway. As time elapsed and Judy's kids entered their teen years, issues started. Christina's decision of companions was horrible, as she picked those with the most horrendously terrible way of behaving and taken part in drinking with them. Supposedly, as per a few sources, she likewise utilized medicates. In the meantime, 13-year-old Daniel was not on a decent way either and appeared to be furious and inadequately went with constantly. On one event, while with a gathering of companions, Daniel took John's vehicle and cruised all over the area, obliterating a considerable lot of the letter drop posts. The following day, John went from one house to another, paying the proprietors for the harm caused to keep them from detailing the kid to the police. Close to this time, John was likewise called to his stepson's school to get an objection about the kid's terrible conduct. Apparently on this event, John wound up stirring things up around town, which obviously created pressure in the connection relationship. Following 9 years together, Judy at long last took her family to Texas so they could see the modest spot where she had grown up, meet one of her siblings who actually resided there. During this outing, Judy griped to her sibling that her marriage was falling flat and that John abused her kids. The fact of the matter was that Judy, a long way from perceiving that her more established youngsters were on some unacceptable way, favored them, which obviously warmed up what appeared to be a strain cooker. In the event that everything was at that point terrible, things deteriorated when John started to think that his significant other was being faithless with a worker of his organization. Consistent with his approach to tackling issues, John was not a man to sit and stew over an issue, however a man of activity to rule out uncertainty. He introduced cameras in different pieces of the workplace, lastly got evident proof that validated his premonitions. At that point John's reality fell and his beforehand merry and sincere way of behaving took a 180 degrees turn. He started to drink, and affected by liquor he had horrendous contentions with Judy, as well as turned out to be unpleasant towards his youngsters. His girl Tiffany got a beating with a belt when her educator illuminated her dad that she had not carried her schoolwork to school. When the instructor saw the imprints from the beating the following day, she called social administrations to report the occurrence. Before they showed up, John made it clear to the four children that to keep partaking in the extravagant everyday routine they had been experiencing up to that second, it was smarter to not express anything about the beating. Without a doubt Tiffany faulted her step-brother Daniel for what had occurred, and he didn't deny it anyway. John's terrible state of mind didn't just influence his family, his representatives, and, surprisingly, the organization's clients experienced the double-crossed spouse's explosions of fury. Looking to put distance between his better half and her darling, he chose to move the family to a selective region in Crown Point, Indiana, regardless of as yet being enamored with Judy and trusting that by eliminating her from enticement they could have a new beginning. Things didn't improve while Judy started to work on her appearance by shedding pounds and changing her look. John let his facial hair develop, began smoking, his closet was diminished to pants, and he was continually occupied. The business endured because of his state, winding up practically bankrupt and offering his boat to remain above water. Tales flowed in the workplace that Judy was taking part in an extramarital entanglements with Jeff, John's right-hand man. However, it was hazy. Assuming that the bits of gossip were valid, they without a doubt filled more conflicts. At one point Judy informed him that she had chosen to separate, yet it wouldn't be that basic. John felt that he had given everything to his significant other, hauled her out of neediness, acknowledged her youngsters, gave her extravagances, or more undeniably cherished her to the place of excessive admiration. With that equivalent energy transformed into disdain, he started to remove all his significant other's wellsprings of cash. He made it clear that on the off chance that she left she would leave with nothing, and his unmistakable advantage was the recording of her heathen it with the workplace representative. This was the situation toward the start of 2003, and obviously the strains between the couple impacted the youngsters, whose conduct went from terrible to more regrettable. Even Tiffany spent special times of year grounded in light of the fact that she and a companion had lit a fire on school grounds. The finish of the contentions came on Thursday, April 17, 2013, when John and Judy went out to supper alone at a cafe, perhaps attempting to track down an answer for their circumstance, or perhaps attempting to restrain the showdown. After supper they called home to keep an eye on the children and reported they would return in no time. At that point Christina requested that they come by the workplace since she had left a school notepad there. Leaving the eatery they went to the organization, and JN made a move to carry the extra supper to Jeff, who was evidently working late. The couple showed up at the workplace in an abandoned modern region not long before 10 p.m. Both entered the office while John conversed with Jeff. Judy got her girl's journal and gotten back to the vehicle left external. Minutes after the fact, John emerged from the workplace and opened the back entryway on the driver's side to look for something in the vehicle when abruptly two boisterous bangs were heard and JN imploded on the parking garage floor. Quickly the 911 got calls from Judy and the other from Jeff. As normal in such cases, police and clinical help units showed up at the scene. Inside the space of minutes, sadly, John, 33 years of age, had been shot toward the rear of the head and was proclaimed dead on the scene. After questioning Judy, who was inside the vehicle at the hour of the occurrence, the lady could essentially contribute nothing. She expressed she was staying there when her significant other emerged from the workplace, opened the secondary passage on the driver's side, and quickly heard two explosions. Judy described that her response to hearing the shots was to conceal, safeguarding herself with the seat, and when she lifted her Had she simply figured out how to impression what appeared to be a man in dim clothing taking off from the vehicle? John's wallet was missing, so from the outset the occurrence appeared to have been a burglary. However, the more the scene was broke down, the more questions emerged in the examiner's brains. Nobody other than the couple realized they would have been there, so a progression of inquiries were planned. How could somebody be hoping to commit an irregular burglary in a modern region that had no individuals available for use around evening time? In the event that it had been a theft, for what reason did they first end his life and really at that time stripped him of his wallet when in plain sight? John was wearing a 20,000 gold Rolex and other effectively open gems. Why hadn't the cheat looked through the pockets as lawbreakers typically do in these sorts of attacks? A larger number of inquiries than response to 2 slug housings were found at the location of the assault. This matched Judy's record of hearing 2 explosions. One of the shots took John's life very quickly, and concerning the other there was no authority data. With their heads loaded with questions, the examiners started their work, and obviously the principal individual they took a proclamation from was Judy. She guaranteed that some time before her significant other had a contention with a worker of his organization and distinguished the man. Past this, Judy couldn't give much else of interest past what she had said at the location of the episode. Jeff was likewise not supportive. He was inside the workplace, and when he emerged after hearing the explosions, everything was at that point over. In the interim, they specialists reached the Parker occupants, and the call was replied by Christina, who was educated that her stepfather had died. With the burglary rationale nearly precluded, criminal investigators turned their concentration towards John's circle, beginning with the purportedly angry worker. The man affirmed they had a huge contention, yet said it had been genuinely settled. Besides, he had a justification that was examined and checked. The examination then, at that point, extended to almost everybody near the youthful financial specialist, colleagues, past and current representatives, contenders, and, surprisingly, John's loved ones. The main marginally dubious finding was the cooperation between the widow and the organization's head supervisor. However, there was no significant proof. Judy's disposition during her significant other's burial service was exceptionally fascinating. Remarks referenced Judy seeming lively and associating with companions as a glaring difference to the normal morning conduct. Her ex, the dad of her 2 youngsters, was likewise noted to be serenely perusing a paper at the memorial service 4 days after John's homicide. Daniel, 15, was taken in to be interrogated on doubt of contribution. This doubt depended on an occurrence a half-year earlier where police were cautioned by gangsters that Daniel had paid them to kill his stepfather John, in spite of the fact that they said they never expected to finish and had just kept the cash. The police to the story unlikely seizing the cash and documenting a report without clear further activity anyway. Given John's possible homicide, specialists returned to Daniel's likely contribution. Under cross-examination, Daniel admitted to paying people to hurt John, planning not to kill yet to harm him, like breaking his legs. Regardless of confining one of the young Daniel supposedly haggled with, he was delivered because of a strong justification confirmed by the examination. Daniel was delivered following 9 days because of absence of significant proof and his minor status. Later it was uncovered that John definitely disliked Judy's kids, prompting more examination concerning Daniel and exposing doubts about Judy's girl Christina, 17. Christina denied all that when addressed, and like before, the claimed plan turned into dead end. Given that the 2 teens held on to shown a craving to dispose of John, examiners pondered where the cash for these plans was coming from, thinking Judy as the main conceivable source. Further requests uncovered that the connection between the couple had fundamentally weakened before John's demise, with something like one of Judy's issues becoming visible anyway. Sources demonstrated that John in no way wanted to leave his significant other and was looking for ways of rescuing the relationship. The essential thought process in Judy to focus on her significant other gave off an impression of being monetary, with criminal investigators finding John had 2 disaster protection approaches adding up to 1 million. Judy had endeavored to guarantee this cash after her better half's passing. However, the insurance agency at first would not pay, referring to the continuous examination concerning his passing. The installment was additionally confounded by John's dad, who thought Judy's association in his child's downfall. Regardless of these leads, the case ultimately slowed down with just fortuitous proof accessible. Life continued on, yet tremendous changes happened inside the Parker family. Judy was scarcely at any point home, evidently occupied with her new accomplice Jeff, John's believed supervisor. In her non-appearance, the more established kin dealt with their more youthful stepsisters Tiffany and Erica. Months after the fact, Judy and Jeff chose to move out of state with J's more youthful girls, while Daniel went to reside with his natural dad. Christina stayed in the house, now pregnant and with a sweetheart. However, the examination had reached a stopping point. Specialists kept the case open, routinely returning to the documents in order to find something significant. Their steadiness paid off. While following another lead, they examined a few classmates of Christina and Daniel who confessed to selling them a gun. This data drove analysts to explore a piece of family-owned land utilized by Christina for shooting training. After reviewing the region, specialists to be sure found a few slug housings. These discoveries were dissected in labs and a critical hint was found: the shot housings coordinated those from John's crime location in 2007. Extra data arose through a partner, an opiates official who had been following Christina's ex-boyfriend, engaged with a medication case and captured looking for mercy for his situation. The ex uncovered a discussion with Judy in which she referenced that it was her child Daniel who had discharged the shot that took John's life. Defied with this data, 21-year-old Christina, connected to the weapon utilized in the wrongdoing, immediately started to talk. She confessed to buying the weapon and calling her folks the evening of the episode, requesting that they come by the workplace under the misrepresentation of getting failed to remember schoolwork. She admitted to being essential for an arrangement to kill John, with her sibling Daniel assigned as the shooter. When 19-year-old Daniel was found and kept in Arizona, he was given the new ballistics proof and his sister's record. He promptly conceded aid to being the person who shot JN, however guaranteed that Judy, their mom, was the genius behind the plot. Daniel uncovered that Judy had manufactured organization checks to accumulate the vital assets to recruit assassins to kill JN. The sum taken was apparently $7,500 anyway. When the underlying arrangement fell through on the grounds that the employed people took the cash without finishing the task Judy purportedly taught them to buy the weapon for her child to use rather. Moreover, Daniel uncovered it was Judy's plan to make the guys for going out that evening by settling on the decision about the schoolwork. He expressed he shot John once in the head and the subsequent shot was a coincidental release while he was rifling through John's pocket for his wallet. Adhering to his mom's directions, he was likewise told to get back without cautioning his more youthful sisters, an undertaking worked with by Christina, who kept the young ladies busy with TV. The kin guaranteed their mom had persuaded them to perpetrate the wrongdoing by claiming they were casualties of maltreatment by John and promising them a superior existence with additional cash and opportunity. It was likewise uncovered that this was not Judy's most memorable endeavor to kill her better half. She had recently attempted to harm his food, driving just to a concise hospitalization for John, assuming some pretense of food contamination. Toward the finish of 2007, Christina and Daniel were officially accused of homicide and connivance. Christina argued not liable to the trick charge and was delivered on bail a while later. In Walk 2008, Daniel, then 20 years of age, confessed to a scheme charge to kill his stepfather and made an arrangement to concede his culpability and embroil his mom in the wrongdoing. In return for his collaboration, the indictment concurred not to accuse him of the more serious offense of homicide, despite the fact that he would in any case confront a sentence of 20 to 25 years in jail. Daniel guaranteed that almost a year prior to the occurrence, when he was 14, his mom and sister previously requested that he assist with killing JN. He definite that his mom gave him and his sister cash to purchase a gun, as well as giving him dark dress, gloves and a veil to wear. Upon the arrival of the wrongdoing, she likewise educated him on how to complete the terrible errand, including cleaning up after getting back to wipe out any hints of explosive. At last, Judy got a sense of ownership with discarding the weapon, the garments worn during the wrongdoing, and her significant other's wallet. Confronting the unavoidable in July 2009, 6 years after her better half's passing, Judy gave up to the specialists and consented to confess to scheme to perpetrate murder, recognizing her job in arranging, executing and concealing the wrongdoing. The indictment mentioned that she be condemned to life detainment with at least 28 years and a limit of 35 years. Judy, approaching 40, was condemned to 33 years in jail in late August 2009. The next month Daniel was condemned to 23 years, and toward the beginning of October Christina, who at last confessed to helping a lawbreaker, got a 5-year sentence. Press reports show that Daniel was delivered in 2017 subsequent to taking part locally change court program and decided to carry on with a low-profile life from there on. Christina carried out 4 years of her punishment and was delivered in 2013, yet unfortunately she kicked the bucket from a medication glut not long after her discharge. This case is set apart by veracity. Regardless of Judy's troublesome early life and later achievement, her unquenchable longing for more drove her to carry out egregious wrongdoings. Tragically, her activities obliterated an effective business person as well as significantly influenced her 4 kids, driving 2 to jail and leaving the more youthful ones without their dad and mom.